with a little bit of a break, kind of, it is now another must-pull week. Last weekend was really good. This one definitely dwarfs it in a couple ways. I want to go over what banners you might want to consider pulling on, why you might pull on them, and how these heroes might benefit your account, and then kind of go into not only my plan to summon, but also what I think you guys should be doing as well. And there's a couple things and a couple opinions that I have on these banners that are probably not going to be the average thoughts. AKA, I'm not high on all of these banners, but you'll have to wait to hear that. First of all, to go into the banners, we have not only the single most important limited in the entire game coming back, Diaochan, we also have a top 2 GVG healer, Legendary Lily, actually another viable GVG healer, which is crazy. She does so much. She's an Eloin, but single target, and can save people. Actually ridiculous healer. We have Eirlys, who's a very decent fighter. He's not a must-pull fighter by any means, but he's very solid. And then we have Sythra, who's going to be a new, in my opinion, I think she'll be a meta unit in single target. She's just a little faster than Wukong. She just pumps out a little more damage, and I think she'll be a lot better. But that's the only area that I think she'll be meta in. She might be decent in grade 3. Someone, I'm sure, can figure it out if they have awakenings, but you have to have awakenings for her to do that. So I didn't really cover it in my video. And then we also have Demi, which is probably the least sought after Ancient Lord, second least sought after Ancient Lord, whatever. Anyways, I'm gonna cut to the chase as soon as I can because I want to go place Hollow Knight Silksong. I spent 25 hours the last 2 days, so I want 100% it, and it's been on my mind all day, so I'm gonna rush through this a little bit. First of all, Diaochan, if you do not have her A1, you have to pull for her. I don't care who you are. She is not only the most important limited in the game, and the most widely used, and the best in the most areas, and holds the best ability for the single best archetype of supporting unit in the game, inspiration units. She has 100% uptime, the insane range. She puts penetration increase on everyone. It's ridiculous. She needs her A1 because the basic attack range, I didn't know they did this infographic. This is actually really cool. It goes from this range to the Dolores range. You know, it's decent, but it doesn't cover everything, to this range. This is the only inspiration unit with this range, and it makes her viable in Arena, it makes her viable in Abyss, it makes her viable in all of the gear raids. She's ridiculous. You have to get her A1. If you're a newer player, pull for at least 1 copy. You can soulstone her later. Try to aim for 2 if you can, if you're not going to pull for the other things. If you're later in the game and you have A0, pull for the guaranteed copy, get that A1 no matter what. If you have both already, then we get into the situation where I would only go for the A3 if you have the summons. If you're kind of broke, you're planning on spending, maybe you're like on the fence, unless it's like a needed awakening, I would say maybe you don't need to go for this. But this is a very good awakening. This makes it so that the inspiration can affect 3 people, or the penetration thing can affect 3 people instead of 2. Very, very, very strong. Makes her a lot more viable in Arena. As you can see, we're on this account. I hit top 1. Video on that if you want to see. Either way, my anti-air Arena team has 3 DPS in Diaochan's range. We have Valara, we have Lady A, and we have Erling Shen. Diaochan is only A1. Now, what this does is it makes it so that the penetration buff that she gives, she does inspiration to everyone, penetration only to other non-healer allies with the highest attack and range. This will only go on the 2 highest attack units that I have in her range. And that's going to be only 2 of my 3 main damage dealers, which causes a couple issues because I'm not doing as much damage as someone who has A3. So in that case, the A3 is very important for end game Arena. Abyss, you definitely want it because it does allow you to do more damage. You can put a little bit more penetration on another unit. And when you're dealing with something like Abyss, where you have, for example, 3 insane DPS and then some DPS that are very good, that A3 can make a big difference. But I would only really focus on the A3 if you are either a whale, a late game player that has the summons, or you just really want it because Diaochan's really good for you. Maybe you want the extra awakenings. That's fine. What I would say is if you don't have her A0, you don't have her A1, either of those two things, you must pull. You must pull at least the single guaranteed copy. You can soulstone her A1 or you could pull for a second one. I would recommend pulling for a second one if you have the summons, but obviously that requires a lot of summons and there's no guarantee that you get another copy. You could go 1,000 summons without another copy of Diaochan past the guarantee. You gotta try to pick your battles there. The other thing I would do is pity swap. And that brings me to the other ban. Eirlys is an insane healer. Not only for endgame players, when it comes to guild versus guild and areas like that where you're trying to keep your tank alive, but also for early game players, because she functionally does what Elowin does, but maybe even a little bit better, which is kind of insane. So when it comes to pity swapping just means that you bring up the amount of summons you need until you get to close to the 200, and you just stop to where your pity starts. So you stop at like 175 or 180 or whatever the heck it is, and then you swap over. And it gives you essentially another chance at a rate up on this banner. You want to go for Eirlys because not only is she great for endgame players with guild versus guild, she has the damage reductions. She has the extra healing on certain allies. She does some of the highest single target healing in the game. Two of the best healing factions in the game. She has an insane ultimate, which heals like 150,000. So overkill, but it's insane. She has unyielding that she puts on one ally in range. She has rage. She has rage on everyone on the field. It's equal to Elowin. But for the people that she's healing, it actually does double what Elowin does. She has probably the best rage regen ability in the entire game, right? Ridiculous. Awakening wise, I would say you only really need the A0, but if you're gonna wail out a little bit, her awakenings are decent, but only going off the A0 copy, I think she's a must pull for a lot of people. If you do not have Elowin, you need to have Eirlys. If you do have Elowin and you want a healer, then you should go for Eirlys. If you care about GVG in any ounce at all, you need to go for Eirlys. If you don't care about those things, you can just pity swap, and if you miss her, don't go too hard on her. That's fine. But she's a very strong healer. Very good. And in case some other single target heal require content comes out in the future, she'll probably be the best unit for it, right? Currently, I think she's really good. I think she has the potential to be even better in the future. I think that rage regen ability is stupid, and I think she's a must pull. So that's my opinion. But keep in mind that the main focus this weekend is still Diaochan. Because if you don't have Diaochan, you literally cannot do anything in this freaking game. So get that A1 Diaochan no matter what. I mean, hell, Gear Aid 3 covers both sides. Like, Gear Aid 1, she's viable because of her big-ass range. Abyss required. Arena required. I mean, it's silly. But with that out of the way, also, don't pull for Aerys. If you pull Aerys, he's cool. Never aim for him, basically. And then the last thing that I want to go over is Sythra banner. Sythra, like I said, is most likely going to be very good in single target arena. Clears the wave slightly faster than Wukong does. She's a lot easier to use because if you just barely don't kill an enemy when it comes to arena, Wukong will ult the dying corpse and you end up losing. Sythra does not have that issue. Sythra basically just summons a summon, kind of acts as a trap, and then as soon as the enemies get in range, she bursts them down with that little archer, and then she does some solid damage overall, just outside of her ult. It's not crazy, but it is something. I think she's only going to be good in single target. That could age poorly, but I don't really see her being super useful in other areas. Except maybe the new guild boss. I still have not done it. I have not had time. I think Sythra is not a must pull. I think if you guys do not want Sythra super hard, I would honestly skip. And that's because ancient banners are less about the non-lord than they are about the Lord. Currently, we still do not have non-Lord pity, which is a little lame. It's something I keep bugging the dev contact about, because it should be in the game, but you want to go for lords basically, because at least there's a guarantee you get a lord. There's no guarantee you don't get a lord, and even past that point, you know, unless it's a Valara or an Ardea or a Carnelian level non-lord, I just wouldn't commit to a banner that has a lord as mid as Demi. Demi's better than people give her credit for. She's not garbage, but she's not that great either. She's not really a crazy pickup. I mean, cultists don't really have that much of a place. And my hot take is you don't even need a Lego Lord for the cultist faction. Which sounds crazy, but I think if you just straight up skip them, you use an epic Lord, I think you can beat every piece of content that the cultists are used in. Even Gear Aid 124 you could do without a Lego cultist Lord. Obviously it makes it easier, but like, I would not summon for Demi ever, no matter who you are. And when Sythra is not good enough to justify pulling for a bad Lord, I would just skip the banner altogether. So basically the final verdict for me is get the A0, A1 Diaochan no matter what. That A3 is very enticing. I want to go for it, but I'll have to spend, so I'm kind of on the fence. That A3 is good if you're planning on pushing late game content. Otherwise, I would just focus on that A0, A1. And then beyond that point, I would pick up one copy of Eirlys. I would skip Sythra and skip Demi. That's my opinion. Let me know what your guys' plan is and how you're gonna summon in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. I'm gonna go play Silk Song, and I'll see y'all later. That's just signing out.